love to show it off. So anytime you need a meeting, just call us. We'll show off our community center. This issue is really big for the village of Ashwaubenon. We have almost 60% of our taxable property is considered commercial and manufacturing. So in talking with our financial director, he said right now for the village for 2018 we will have a combined tax rate of $19.65 per thousand. That would go up to approximately $25.70 per thousand. Now, you know, $6 doesn't sound like that much money. However, from a taxable standpoint from the village, it's huge when 60% of our stuff is commercial, our retail is commercial and manufacturing. If I take my village hat off for just a moment and I put on my personal hat, I have a commercial property in Ashwaubenon. My taxes on that commercial property would go up $6,000 for 1 year. If I take it on average $140,000 home in Ashwaubenon, it would go up approximately $1,000 per year. That's a lot of money. And we don't, the homeowners, a lot of the smaller business owners, we don't have the money to hire the attorneys that can make these laws work for us. So I'm glad that we're doing the Dark Store bill. I urge them to get it on the floor and get it voted on and get this ended so that we don't have this issue anymore. So now I would.
Mayor Hanna. Yep.
I'm going to introduce Appleton Mayor Tim Hanna.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you all for being here today. I want to make something clear. This might be a little confusing for people. This is not about more money for municipalities. And some of the opponents might want to paint it that way, that, municipalities are just unfairly raising assessments so that they get more money. Number one, that's illegal. We can't do that. But number two, we're under levy limits from the state. Our spending can only go up by as much as our tax base grows. This is really about a shift. Our how much we spend is how much we spend, and a lot of that is dictated by the state of Wisconsin. That doesn't change. Where it comes from, that's what changes, or what can change. That's what's at risk. It's about the mix of where that came from, and Mary did a good job of explaining the impact that could happen in Ashwaubenon. We've experienced some of this in Appleton. We've had to give refunds of over $1 million to property owners that have filed appeals using this strategy. And that is a shift. Somebody has to pay that other $1 million. That gets shifted primarily onto people who own homes. And that's what we want to make clear. There's enough support in the Senate and the Assembly to pass these bills. They've been through the process. It's time. Get them on the schedule and vote for them. It's the right thing to do for the taxpayers, for the homeowners in this state, all across the state, and especially here in Northeast Wisconsin. We've experienced this. This is an unfair shift, and if we don't close this, preclude this strategy, we're going to see an impact like Mary just talked about, not just in Ashwaubenon, but all across the state. And I think our legislators understand that. They've been getting a lot of pressure from lobbyists on the other side, but I think they understand what the impact is to the people that actually go out and cast the votes and vote for them. So I encourage people to contact their legislators and urge them to get these scheduled for a vote, because we know when they hit the floor on the Senate and the Assembly that they will pass. And we're confident that the governor will sign it once it hits his desk. So.
Great, thanks, Mayor. So Mayor Hanna also is the president of the League of Wisconsin Municipalities right now. He's in the middle of his term. Next, we're going to have Village of Howard President Burt McIntyre.
Thank you. thank you all for coming today. I want to start out by recognizing the tireless efforts of Representative Robert Brooks and Senator Roger Roth and Dewey Strobel, who authorized the pieces of legislation that we're here talking about today. And I want to thank the local representatives who have supported this legislation, Representative David Stephan and John Mako, as well as Senator Coles and Hanson. And of course, we would not be here today without the League of Municipalities making this one of their highest priorities in years. In the Village of Howard, our village board also serves as a board review, the body that hears assessment appeals. In all my years as president, which is 13, on the village board, which has been 13, we have never had an appeal from an owner or a single family home or an apartment complex or a small business owner. We are committed to ensuring fair and equitable assessments, and I believe we've been very successful in accomplishing that. We need this legislation to be acted on to stop the games that are being played by lawyers that have been putting national retailers against other taxpayers in order to make a quick buck. Let me describe the game from Howard's example. 2 years ago, we had an assessment appeal from Menards to support their opinion of value their lawyer used as comparable sales, the vacant Club Food building in Green Bay, a vacant Oshkosh Sears store built in 1967, and a Sheboygan Sears store built in 1970. Using these comparable sales, their lawyer argued that Howard Menards, for which that they were working, should be assessed at $5 million, $5.7 million. They purchased the land for $5 million. They put $8 million to build in 2012, and they should be assessed, like I said, at $5.7 million. This was ridiculous. Of course, as soon as the lawyer filed the objection, he offered to settle the case in between the assessed value and his dark store value. Why settle so quickly? Because the faster they settle, the more money they make. Because of fear of costs of defending them, local municipalities are reluctant to challenge these lawyers to take them to court. They will sometimes settle these rather early and costly to the citizens of their community. We need this legislation to be acted upon. We need the assessment games over. This legislation has already been the subject of 2 all-day public hearings in Madison. It is supported by numerous elected officials on both sides of the aisles. Any further delay is only going to mean more legal bills for our municipalities and more of a tax burden shifting for our residents. I just want to close by simply stating that many times legislation in Madison disappears and there's only a whimper. This is not going to just disappear with a whimper. I can guarantee that the local leaders of municipalities are going to make sure what happened, why it happened, and who did it. This is not fair. It's not what's supposed to be happening to the citizens of this community. And why people are stonewalling this legislation is something I do not understand. We strongly urge that this move forward and get done. Thank you.
Thank you, Burt. Very well said.